I actually went to my chiropractor and he got me pregnant. It was fantastic.
You know what? Now that I think about it, the kids do look a little bit like him. And I'm thinking that must have been one hell of an adjustment.
It was the best I ever had.
I'm starting to feel on our morning walks, we're trapped in the Pac-Man arcade game. Do you remember Pac-Man?
Yes,
The little
love
circle, and he used to go around and eat the little dots. But if he came to a wall, he was trapped and had to go another way. I feel like sort of our walks are turning into that, and they're meant for peace.
We live to walk early as the sun's rising, and we found a rooster in our neighborhood that brings us pure joy. If you asked me about a rooster 5 years ago, I'd probably say I can't stand roosters. I love this rooster now because I'm into nature.
Yes.
So you're right. Our peace has been taken a little bit. So we have to find a way to enjoy this rooster.
You liked that rooster so much that you were actually going to go to the person's house who had the rooster. And what were you going to say to them?
I was going to thank them. Thank you for having this rooster because it brings us joy. But then there was a dog. I think he has a dog and I got scared. So that idea fell through.
You are afraid of dogs.
Oh, I am so afraid. I was bit when I was years ago, and I think that just stays with me.
I was also bit by a dog. I don't know if you know that. When I was younger, I was bit. So
Of course you were. I had no idea you were bit. Really?
Yeah, I'm afraid of dogs as well in certain situations.
Okay.
Yes.
I always thought you were a dog lover.
No, I am, but I was bit by a dog one time, and now I also have a little bit of a fear for dogs.
Okay.
But, did you know this? That roosters can actually recognize up to 100 faces. So if you were like around face number 78 that rooster has seen, it would recognize you every time you came. But you didn't get to actually.
We're not that close. I don't think he'd recognize.
You didn't get to actually see the rooster.
Well, we could see the rooster from a distance.
Right, but
I
he
mean,
didn't
you're with
actually,
me on
he
the
probably didn't see you.
No.
Okay.
Let's see his really good eyes.
So here's what's happening now. On our walk, a car pulls up to us and the person rolls down their window and they say to us, "Have you seen my dog Havoc?" And right away, I'm starting to panic.
I was dying. When she said Havoc, I just started to think, oh my gosh.
When you hear the name Havoc, you know it's not a Pomeranian or a Shih Tzu. You're thinking big dog.
Yes.
And right away, you asked.
I think I said, is Havoc friendly? Oh, so friendly. The only thing Havoc will do was jump. Occasionally he growls, but don't be afraid.
Yeah, don't be
Very
afraid.
nice dog.
Yeah, if you see him, can you just grab his leash?
Yeah.
And wait for me? Because I'll be driving around the neighborhood.
We're
and I'm
not
thinking,
those people.
I'm not grabbing this dog. It was a big dog, and I'm not grabbing this dog's leash. And all I'm thinking is, can we jump in that car
Right
with
now.
you and you take us home? And she's thinking, oh, good. These people are out walking. They're going to tell me if they see the dog. And right away, she goes one direction and you and I make a beeline right to our house. So the walk is ruined, right?
I don't think I went out the rest of the day.
No, walk is ruined the rest of the day. And when we walk now, I've noticed you actually bring a can of hairspray with you.
Wait, how did you see that? Because I started doing that recently, probably 2 weeks ago. We don't have mace.
Yeah.
And my fear is escalating.
Now, did you think I thought the can of hairspray was because when we're walking, your hair gets frizzy?
No.
And it's to fix yourself? No, you bring that because I know that's your secret weapon against a dog. And I don't know if hairspray is going to affect the dog.
It probably won't, but mentally, it prepares me that I'm safe.
That kills me. I'm thinking that
I put it in my
you're going to
pocket.
spray that dog, the dog's probably thinking, what is this, my groomer? I couldn't believe that you actually bring hairspray on the walk. We also had
real little.
We had another issue with a dog a few days ago before that one. We're walking down a street and you see a man about my size. So he's not real
Maybe
big.
smaller.
Smaller than my size.
He was
really.
tiny.
He was tiny. And he was walking a big Akita.
Yes.
And right away you said, let's go down another route. And I'm getting tired of changing our routes because I like the way we go. And I'm like, it's going to be fine. This is going to be fine. Well, as soon as we step towards that route, I think the guy waves. Dog lunges at us and it makes the guy fall on his belly. So now the dog is pulling him like a dog sled towards us. And right away you maneuver yourself so that I'm in front of you. And
I
I'm
love
thinking,
that.
what am I going to do?
You're a professional swimmer. You're like a bodybuilder in your day. You're going to protect me better than I'm going to protect myself.
Oh, okay. So now this dog is coming towards us. And well, you know that actually you don't have to outrun a dog.
No.
Did you know that?
No.
If you're walking with another person.
What do? Play dead?
No, you just have to outrun the other person.
Oh.
So in that case, you just have to outrun me, which probably is not going to happen.
No, it's not. Definitely
and
not.
if there's a pool around, you're definitely not going to outswim me.
No.
You actually sucked it up one time, and we owned a dog, two dogs, over a period of probably what, 12 or 15
With
years.
allergies, and our daughter has asthma.
So what? Our dogs never got loose. What is this with dogs getting loose? Is it that hard for someone to keep a dog contained in a house or on a leash? I don't get it.
Well, I think sometimes people have kids, and maybe they're running in and out. They're not worried about
We
the
had
dog.
kids. Our kids never
But
let.
I was neurotic.
Yeah, but our kids never let our dogs
But I was
out.
probably right there. Close the door.
I don't know.
So I'm sure that had something to do with
Just
it.
note to dog lovers: try to keep your dogs a little bit contained.
Most people are dog lovers.
We've had some crazier pets, though, in our time. I remember when we first met, I had two iguanas that were like 5 feet long.
I think a Nile monitor.
Yes.
It was huge. Disturbing.
Yo, that thing was nasty. If
Yeah.
I'm worried about dog bites, I remember when that thing bit me, I had to actually put my finger under the sink while it was still holding on until it let loose. I was almost had to drown it, and it finally let go of me, and I got it in the cage. And I'll tell you what, I was scared to death of that thing the rest of the time I
think
owned
the
it, too.
aquarium you had was as big as our spare room in our second apartment that we had together.
We only had 2 bedrooms in that apartment, and the one room was totally for the lizards. Like, they took care of that whole room. But when we'd have people come over, remember, we'd put them back in the aquarium and put a bed sheet over it, and we never told them what
and
they were sleeping
they
with.
stayed in that room.
Yeah, they just stayed in that room. Now, do you remember because I was always into lizards and reptiles and amphibians and things like that. So I tried to get our daughters interested. One Christmas, I bought a lizard for the girls, and they weren't interested at all. They had no interest whatsoever.
And that was your big surprise gift. You couldn't wait to give it to them.
Yeah, so after a year goes by, they don't have any interest. I didn't have the time to take care of it. We lived in the woods, so I'm thinking, you know what? I'm just going to walk out and let this thing go in the woods, and I'll tell the girls it got loose. So I do that. I let it go in the woods. Well, that same day, the girls and I were out in the yard, and one of their friends is there, and the friend goes, "Oh, Mr. Fisher, I think I just found your gecko." And he's holding it, and I'm like, geez, I just got rid of that thing. And the girls are like so excited. I'm thinking, you never had an interest in it before. So he gives it to me. I say, "Go on, kids, keep playing." I walk back in the woods and let it go again. That lizard, if I tell you, it just kept coming back. I couldn't get rid of that lizard.
On our walks, it's not just dogs, it's people too.
Yes. So lately we go by this one house, and this one guy seems like he has to talk to us. He doesn't, I guess, get the fact that we're walking for exercise and some peace, and he stops and he just goes into these long conversations. So we've come up with the great plan of avoiding his street altogether when we see him out. Then when he spots us, he actually gets in his car
And drives next to us.
Yes, and rolls down the window, and now he's at our pace, and he's talking to us while we're trying to walk.
I think finally, after we said, we don't mean to be rude,
Yeah.
we were honest. We're trying to get peace and walking, have a great day. And that did not work. Finally, I think we were like, Gary has to go to the bathroom. Whatever it is, we just say something different every time.
Yeah.
But it does disrupt our peace.
Yeah, and now we have to have certain routes planned out. We can't just go on a loose route and go anywhere. We have to find out, oh, this house has this person that's going to stop. This house has this one. And again, it's like that Pac-Man arcade where we're just bouncing from thing to thing, and it's a little disruptive. And, you know, if I see someone, if I'm out gardening, which I never do, or if I'm getting the mail and I
You'll
see...
wait. You actually act like you don't even see the people.
Exactly. Or if I can see ahead of time someone on a walk heading towards me, I'm booking back into that house. I am not getting into
But
the
it might be
conversation.
social hour for a lot of people.
But yeah, but I look at it, I'm looking at it from the perspective that, number one, I don't really want to talk to anybody. And number two, I'm giving them their exercise. I'm giving their peace. So your piece, and mine too, is the Rooster. But my other piece are these Bloody Marys.
This is amazing. It's the brekkie Bloody Mary. So we have the sunny side up egg, we have bacon, we have sausage and hash browns. If you want to add toast, you can, but it becomes a little bit of a clusterfuck. And what I love about this Bloody is we use Tito's, which is smooth, and you don't have much of a hangover the next day, and it is gluten-free.
We've added a little touch now to our Bloodies that we learned when we were in Milwaukee
This is
at a
amazing
wedding.
balance.
These are great. These are little Miller nips, and it's a Midwest thing. And what they do in the Midwest is they'll have a Bloody Mary, and then they'll give you a beer. And I remember when they first did that for us, I was like, yeah, what's up with the beer? I didn't order a beer. It comes with the Bloody. So we've actually told some bars that we go to now, and we said, hey, this Midwest thing, it's really cool. You get a Bloody and a beer. And a couple of the bars are now doing that.
We enjoy it.
So now we're finished our walk and we finally get back inside. And this is our chance to actually do a workout without interruptions.
Well, we have a routine. I go for a little piece first, which is meditation, journaling, and sometimes affirmations. And I think you have a very cool workout. You get to meet a little crush that he has. This has been going on, what, 2 years?
I have a little crush. It's my workout instructor, Pamela Rife, and she does a YouTube video. It's a 10-minute ab routine, and I do a 10-minute upper body routine. And I kind of feel like don't be jealous, but I feel like she's kind of digging me.
She does wink. She does encourage you. I can see that.
She'll be say like, come on, Gary, push it, push it, push it. You can do one more rep. And then she'll give me a little wink. And she has, don't get me wrong, she'll have like pro football players on her channel. She'll have famous singers, but I don't know. There's just some connection her and I have that it kind of builds our bond.
I think she's excited that you've moved from 2-pound weights to 5. Are you at 5 now?
I think it's 5.5.
That's amazing.
5.5 pound.
I could see that.
I've come a long way from my bodybuilding days. Do you remember back in the days when you'd have those gyms that were just for muscle?
Oh,
heads?
yes. Big muscle.
And you'd have the parachute pants. And what were they? Remember the little string tank tops that I would wear? And those were crazy
I think
days.
you went to a Y and you were like the man there.
It was like, it was a basement, and it was just, it was a hardcore. I don't know if those gyms even exist anymore.
I think they do.
Do you? Because all I see is like
we're just not aware.
The Planet Fitnesses, and you know what? It was those basement gyms that created the real.
They were the best. I do like her thong that she teaches in.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes I think she dresses for me, too. I think she wears those seductive outfits just to keep me motivated and keep my exercise program going. You actually have a lot of guy friends that you like doing things together with. You sometimes would rather be with guys than with girls.
Oh, they're so easy. I had great brothers growing up.
Okay.
They had great friends. And then we were in the automobile business on and off for years. So you're connecting with guys all the time.
Yeah. And if a guy's single and you're out with them, you're the perfect wingman.
Oh, I've done many.
Oh my gosh. Because if they see a woman across the bar, you are the perfect setup to go, oh, let me go talk to them. And then you'll bring them over.
It's so much easier for a girl to introduce a guy than a guy and a guy. It works like magic.
That's amazing. And then actually you played matchmaker, make me a match.
Okay, good.
You played matchmaker to your father, which was incredible.
Yes. So when my mom passed, she said, Bob, you can't be alone. You need to find someone. So I waited in that synagogue parking lot. I felt like for days. And eventually a mutual friend came along and said, I said, do you know anyone for my dad? And she said, I do. She ended up hooking them up and he called her. And I am so thankful for that because we have a prize now in our family, just a gem.
I don't think a lot of kids would do that for their father or mother. I don't think they'd play matchmaker.
It's not really about us. It's about them. It's about, first of all, my mom gave her blessing, but he needs to continue with his life and have happiness. And I think it's neat that all of us are very happy for him for his next chapter.
Yeah, that's great. And you know what? It brings up the question, can a guy and a girl be friends without having a relationship and that involves also sex? That's a good question. Do you think a guy and a girl can be best friends without actually turning that into a relationship?
I think they can, but I think most will say they can't.
I agree. And that's a good question. If you want to comment to this video or podcast, let us know how you feel, because I would love to know your opinion on that too. Thanks to that morning routine that we do, it kind of led us to the miracle birth of a child for you at age 55.
Yes, 3 years ago, we had a baby of a lifetime. I had a fibroid that made me 6 months pregnant.
We called it our baby.
Yes.
Well, it wasn't actually a baby.
I carried it around for at least 2.5, 3 years till I finally did get surgery. But I had to strengthen my mind in order to get this surgery. So not only did it help me go through the surgery in a positive way and a great recovery, it really is helping me with life. When something's thrown at me that's unexpected, I'm prepared because my mind's strong.
Yeah, that was an 8-week recovery, and you were up and about after one day. And that was amazing.
Yeah.
And that was from your good mindset, which was incredible. We're going to actually show a picture of that fibroid right now so you can see that this was after it was removed from Wendy's body. So if you're a little squeamish,
don't look.
Yeah, you may want to turn away.
You want to look ahead.
But check this out. This is the actual fibroid.
Sort of has your ears.
You think so?
Little.
I'm like a proud father again. Did you know the oldest age a woman has actually had a baby? Can you guess that?
70?
That's pretty good.
What is it?
It's actually 73. A
Is it
woman,
really?
yes, a woman in India had twin girls. Now, can you imagine having a baby at age 73? When your kids are like 10, 15 years old, you're out there playing football or having a catch with them. You're in your 80s, 90s.
But you're not big on age. You're always like, let's not talk about age. It doesn't matter how old you are. So maybe that's the mindset they take.
It might be. And you know what? Another fun fact. Did you know there was actually a celebrity who had a successful birth at age 50? Do you know who that was? I'll give you a hint. It was a famous musical family she was a member of.
Lori Partridge?
That's pretty good. It was Janet Jackson.
Oh, okay.
Fun fact, age 50, Janet Jackson had a child.
Wow. Speaking of babies, we had some issues trying to get pregnant our first time.
Yes, we did. We had to go to a couple fertility specialists. And I remember this one in particular. It was kind of an uncomfortable situation. We were sitting there at the desk, and I remember the doctor being across from us, and then him saying, the reason your wife isn't getting pregnant is because you have slow swimmers.
Which is so odd. Here's the swimming state champ and slow swim. It made zero sense.
At that point, I wanted to jump. I wanted you to hold me back because I wanted to jump over that desk and be like, look, if there's a pool in this clinic somewhere, we're going to swim and have a race. I'll show you how slow my swimmers were. So that's what I felt like he was kind of putting all the blame on me. So I was feeling a lot of pressure. And then the next thing you know, I get a tap on my shoulder and it's this nurse and she's like, please follow me. Now I'm thinking, am I getting in trouble? Is there something I did wrong? So I follow her down the hallway. She takes me into this room, sits me on a chair. She hands me a cup and then she starts giving me the directions of, I guess, what I'm supposed to do. But I couldn't help but notice she had like something on her chin. And I'm thinking to myself, you want to wipe that off? And then I realize it's a mole the size of a pencil eraser. So now I'm focusing on that while she's giving me these instructions. And I feel like I'm in a Charlie Brown cartoon.
Sort of like, wah, 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 wah.
Yes, exactly like that. I didn't
And you don't hear anything.
I didn't hear a thing she said. Next thing you know, she hands me the cup. She turns around and walks out of the room. And again, I felt like I was getting in trouble for something that I didn't do. But luckily, things came out better a little bit later.
So a few months later, I actually went to my chiropractor and he got me pregnant. It was fantastic.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. But you know what was kind of a little bit weird about that is I remember when the kids were older and we'd run into him, he would always go up to them and he would be like, hey, I'm the doctor that got your mom pregnant. And they were always like,
what?
Yeah, that's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you know what? Now that I think about it, the kids do look a little bit like him. And I'm thinking, that must have been one hell of an adjustment.
It was the best I ever had.
You know, talking about babies, one thing that we always do when I notice that you're struggling trying on a dress or you're not happy, things aren't fitting correctly. My favorite line is I'll always say, hey, Wendy, don't beat yourself up over it. You just had a baby 25 years ago.
I love that line. It does make me feel a lot better. I had an incident recently. We had a wedding and we went to a specialty shop and it's appointment only. And I was not an appointment. I called and they said, come in, we have a spot. So when I got there, the lady that greeted me kept saying, oh, you're the appointment. You're the appointment. And then at the same time, I was giving her my rules. I said, listen, I like to cover the Hadassah arms. So I'm telling her all the things that I like and dislike about dresses. And in the meantime, she says to me, just so you know, you cannot get a dress here for $200. So I was like, what?
Wow.
This is what I'm thinking.
I can't believe you didn't rip her head off.
I wanted
the
to.
old you would have.
Oh, yeah. But I got it together. I thought of the Rooster, the things that I'm working on. So I did not at that time for sure. And we went around the store. We found a dress. And at the very end, when I did get the dress, $2,000 later, the owner comes out and says, hey, Wen, how are you? How's the family? And at that time, the lady that was waiting on me, who was snarky most of the time, sort of sunk. But at the very end, I said, big mistake. And that was it.
You forgot about the Rooster.
I did. I didn't want to forget about the Rooster at the time, actually. To be honest, I didn't want to forget about it.
You still got a little dig in.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? And that's just like the scene from Pretty Woman when that issue happens. And the bottom line is don't judge a book by its cover.
Well, the one thing that I kept thinking throughout the visit is I'm not just doing this for me. I'm doing it for everybody else that feels intimidated, secure when someone's making them feel that way.
Yeah.
You know, most people would probably walk out.
Yeah, definitely.
And I felt it.
Yeah, and definitely. And I bet you didn't know this. You know, the movie Pretty Woman was almost not named Pretty Woman. The
Really?
original name was 3000.
3,000.
Yeah. Do you know how they came up with it?
How?
She was $3,000 for him to hire her for the entire week, and that's what he did. And they were going to go with that 3,000 as the actual
Do you think
name
we'll
for
have
the
any
movie.
more fun facts?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep trying. If I can think of any, I'll definitely
How
throw.
many fun facts do you guys want?
I feel like we haven't been having good luck with wedding dresses lately.
No, they're like bathing suits. They're identical. But I will say years ago we had a wedding. There was an issue with the zipper. We went back several times and I felt like they finally resolved it, but they didn't.
No, because you're right. We were up in the hotel room after the wedding, and I remember you're like, Gary, help me get this dress off. I can't fix the zipper. I can't do it. So I'm working on it. I'm wiggling it around. We were doing that for like 30 minutes. Finally, you're just like, Gary, rip this dress off me. And all I'm thinking is every time you buy a wedding dress, you're always like, I'll be able to wear this dress for the next 10 weddings. So it's okay that we spend $4,000 on this dress. And all I'm thinking is, oh my gosh, why don't you just keep this dress on for like the next 5 years so we can pay for it? But instead we rip it off and that dress is worth nothing now.
Destroyed.
You're not big into surprises
Mm-mm.
because I
I
remember.
don't like them at all.
Right. Well, as far as we're talking about weddings, and the big thing too with is the biggest surprise about a wedding is that engagement time.
Oh, yeah.
That
People
engagement,
live for-
people live for that. It's a very exciting time. But I remember our engagement was a little bit different than normal. First of all, we lived together for 7 years.
But I think I found the ring.
You did find the ring,
But
and
you're-
you found the ring, and you didn't put it back.
well, that was a mistake. I think I got like preoccupied and I forgot. But your hiding spot was ridiculous. It was like in your sock drawer. Like who hides it in their sock drawer?
Yeah, but what were you doing in my sock drawer? Number one.
I don't know. I was probably putting it laundry away.
Well, okay. Well, so here's the thing about that is, if I remember correctly, we didn't have a washer and dryer, and my mom was still doing all our laundry. We would take everything to her house. So maybe you were putting it away. Maybe you were putting it away, and maybe the sock drawer wasn't the best hiding place in the world. But number two is when I get home from work, and I see it on the kitchen counter, the ring. You didn't put it back.
Well, I wasn't expecting you. I do remember this. I wasn't expecting you home and I found it and I think I tried it on and I put it down. I was probably walking around and then probably the phone rang and then you walked in and you weren't supposed to be home for a couple hours.
Now, there's some couples that would look at that and be like, oh my gosh, the wedding's ruined. You
Right.
found the ring.
I was like relieved. Ooh, found it. It's the ring I wanted.
Well, no, for one thing is the fact that you and I picked out the ring.
We did that together.
Which I'm sure a lot of women do.
Yes.
They pick it out ahead. So you
But I
knew.
think that's okay because you want to like it. But I do think sometimes people like the surprise of not knowing.
Yeah. And we don't even wear wedding rings now.
No.
Like I remember my wedding ring.
What is wrong with
I
this
think it was
picture?
like 15, 20 years ago. I'm throwing a football and my ring falls off and it was towards the house. And I remember hearing it clang on one of the drain pipes. And I looked for it for like an hour and I was like, I
think we gave up quick.
We did. Now, some people get the ring tattoos. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Or those black rings now.
They're neat. I
Black,
like those.
Black is in. But again, I think some people just like for you never like surprises. Every time I would have a surprise, you'd be like, what is it? And that's the same way our kids are. Just so you know, I had a really nice engagement plan. We were going to go on a
I
ship
do remember that.
called the Michelou, and I was going to propose to you on the ship.
That would have been lovely.
But you know what? Hey, I still think things worked out. Maybe those engagements are a little bit overrated. Those pre-planned ones. You found the ring. No big surprise.
That was the engagement of a lifetime.
So one thing we touched on in our last episode is something that really has helped strengthen our marriage. And that's a valuation that we have Sunday nights. And that's where we sit down and we take a specific amount of time. We have no interruptions whatsoever. We put away the phones. Everything's put away. So there's no distractions at all. And we talk about the positive and negatives of each other that may have been something that bothered us during the week or something we were really happy about. So a lot of people have been asking us, can you give us an example of some things that you might go over during evaluation? So we thought we would pick our last evaluation and give something about it. So we always like to start with the positive.
Always start with a positive.
So for instance, my positive to Wendy during the week is she did something really nice for someone. I think she took them flowers, but that's Wendy. She always is doing things like that. And I think that's a good example for me. If someone passes away, she makes it a purpose the next year to call them on the anniversary of that person passing and saying how sorry she is. And then she brings up an amazing memory. But that's something I'm lacking. I don't always do things for others where Wendy does. And I said to her, I said, you're an inspiration to me. That really helps me out.
Thank you. And continue to be inspirations to each other. That's key. So a negative, so we're not telling the story
Wait,
too.
you didn't give my positive.
I know, I was going to go right to the negative.
Okay.
So the negative is, I thought we were doing one example.
No, one each. So
Oh, okay.
I would get a positive now, I would say, unless I didn't have any.
No, you had a lot. Like your whole life is. But I think the positive is for you, you are always, no matter what we're going through, and this week has been a little stressful just with some different situations, but you always still have the same outlook and smile and attitude. It never gets you down. Even if I get down, I've learned to come up quick. But you just don't get down. You learn to talk about it, and that's it. Then you find the brightness in every day, which is great.
Oh, thank you. Well, so there's the positive. That's what we discussed, positive. And now we bring out the negative, which can
Mine is-
obviously bring up a little arguments. Wendy's list was like this. But anyway, pick one. I would say this week, and one thing I said to her is I said, you're a little edgy this week. I feel like I'm walking around the house on eggshells, and anything I do, you want to blow my head off.
Well, I felt really edgy. Thank God our kids aren't home. But you always take it out on the people you love the most. So that's something I'm going to be aware of. It was an edgy week. No excuses, no hormones, this, that. I was edgy.
Yeah.
Get it the fuck together, Wendy, and stop being edgy. Because that's something I really want to get better at.
Yeah. And what was my negative?
Probably still the shit eating and grin, but that's it. Like you have very few, and I'm not just saying
I'll
that.
try to wipe that off my face.
You wipe it. But I think maybe you're negative. This week have been a lot of times we work as a team with our kids and we have this great plan. If this happens, that happens. And sometimes you cave in and go the opposite way.
I do.
Maybe you're a people pleaser a little bit.
Without a doubt. So that's something,
It's easier.
that's something that I definitely have to work on. So, and that's one thing you do is when you hear the negative, you know now that that's something. So that's in the back of my mind. And the next time something comes up with the kids, sometimes I take their side.
Yes.
And
yes.
I have to take your side more often. And that's just
well, if you agree with it.
Right. Which most of the times I do, I just start to feel bad for them or
You do.
whatever it is. Like
You're
you
good
said,
luck.
I'm definitely a people pleaser. Our next,
Don't try to change each other either.
No.
Work together. But if it's something that you're like, this is who I am, then we have to work on how we handle that living together.
Yes. And I hope that helps you with your evaluation. It just give you some examples. That's how we go through it. One thing I know what's going to come up in our next evaluation is the fact that our daughter is graduating from college, or at least she says she
Congratulations, Lily.
At least she says she is this week. And so she's going to be coming home. She let us know that she will be living with us as much as she doesn't want to. And we're kind of used to our freedom now. That's a big adjustment for couples when your child is coming home and after they've been away for 4 years. But the one thing is we have to kind of break the news to her that her bedroom has now been converted into this podcast.
She'll get over it.
So we have to figure that out.